Welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media, along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator with all the papers today. Welcome, Heidi.
Thank you.
A lot of information to touch on from the most recent meeting, which was on March 2nd, about a 1-hour meeting. Also, spring is getting close, and we have a lot to talk about this coming up in town, so stay prepared for that at the end of the program. Let's get to the meeting from the 2nd, again, about 1 hour long. One item that took about half of that, and we'll get to that in just a couple minutes. Nothing from consent agenda to touch on, so let's jump right into some of the public hearings. First was on Minnesota Health Village. We've talked about this a few times, giving people a preview of what it is, and it looks like the process is continuing. Where are we now with this?
Yeah, so this was the public hearing for the street project, or the public improvements. So they'll, from here, develop the plans and specs and get out to bid on that project. And that's really the extension of Grove Circle from up behind Home Depot down to around by where Aldi is. And then there's a road that'll head out to the north and west there as well. So these road improvements will get constructed over the summer months, and so this is the kind of the first step in that process.
All right, sounds like a few roundabouts will be added in that area
correct.
too, so to keep the traffic moving efficiently through that area. So that process continues on. We'll give you more information as it gets to the next steps. The long item now was under Community and Economic Development, and this was the Elm Road project. First, just a little brief history. What is this project? How long has it been talked about and going through different stages of city process? Yeah,
so this is the Elm Road area, kind of in the southwest corner of the city, kind of one of the last remaining, larger lot, single-family estate type development areas. Elm Road is still a gravel road that goes through that area. So there's been a number of development proposals over the years. This most recent one is Gagne Land Development Company, well known here in Maple Grove and Plymouth area. They had acquired and assembled a number of properties that started to make sense for moving forward with a suburban style traditional neighborhood. And so this project was in front of the Planning Commission. A lot of questions about, I think, mainly around the issues of lot size, tree removal. We have a forest preservation area to the north that this development kind of sits up against, and so kind of how those buffer areas will be dealt with. And so staff did some work with the developer, as well as kind of researching internally kind of what's been done with in the past with similar areas that have come through for development. A lot of that area in the southwest was similar to this at one point in time, and so as it's coming through the process, it's good to look back and see, well, what were the requirements placed on those developers as they came forward. So that came back to the Planning Commission and then came forward to the City Council here on March 2nd. Couple of issues. I think one of the main issues remaining was there were two lots kind of up in the northwest corner that sit up against a parcel that isn't going to be developing at this time, and so there was a desire to make sure that the trees or the in that area on the undeveloping parcel weren't necessarily impacted by the development. And so where the council landed and what the developer offered up was to leave kind of a 15-foot buffer there, and they'll pull the road back a little bit. So basically kind of removing grading from a lot of that edge there along those parcels to try to reduce that impact. So this project gained approval, and it'll come forward, and you'll see kind of the next steps coming forward with that Elm Road plan. Public hearing on those improvements kind of would be a next step in the next month. So
another great example of different bodies within the city get involved in the process. Obviously, you mentioned the Planning Commission, but it sounds like even the Arbor Committee was involved in some of this, talking about the tree preservation and some of those water impacts that might be in that area. Is that correct? That group gets involved in occasions like this?
Yeah, for sure. So Arbor Committee reviews these plans and takes a look at that. And we have ordinances that deal with tree preservation areas and the amount of removal that can take place. I think the hard thing is this is land that's privately held. It has a land use associated with it. It's guided in the comp plan for that type of development, and those types of guidings are usually in place for a couple of decades sometimes, or decades at a time. And so this land has really been guided for that use for quite some time. But yes, so the Arbor Committee weighs in and looks back to our ordinance in terms of what the developer can do and puts some limits around that. And then we also spent quite a bit of time looking at kind of the water resources aspects of this development, reviewed by the watershed, of course, but also our internal staff to look at how drainage would work. I think a lot of some of the neighbors that will be remaining there that are on kind of that large lot, single family, some generally have private well and septic type situation going on. but we're concerned about drainage, impacts to their wells, those kinds of things. So not only our staff, but Watershed works through those issues as well.
All right, so again, coming back to the City Council, probably in a meeting in March or the next meeting?
Yeah, so the next meeting will have the resolution of approval, all those conditions that were part of this. This one had a lot of conditions on it. Those will be documented in that approving resolution at the March 16th meeting.
Okay.
And then you'd probably see that road project come forward probably in the April timeframe.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, we'll keep you up to date as the project moves ahead. One other report from upcoming economic development items, and that is KinderCare. Tell us
Yes.
about this thought and where it might be going.
Yeah, so this is out at the markets at Rush Creek, 101 Bass Lake Road, another one of the outlots out in front of Hy-Vee. And so we've had interest on a couple corners out there for daycare. There's not a lot of daycares out in that neck of the woods, and so I think there's certainly some market demand. So yes, KinderCare has applied. They will be in front of the Planning Commission next week, and then probably in front of the back to the council on the 16th of March.
Very good.
Yep.
Next item, Public Works, Engineering, and get ready, folks.
Yeah.
I-94 time to talk about this. Ken Asheville gave a little update of what the timeline might be for residents. What does it look like? When will things start, and when will things really hit?
Yeah, so it's starting to feel like it's construction season starting with this weather being really warm, but winter's not quite over yet,
No.
I don't think.
No.
So they're still doing kind of some of that preliminary work. They're going to start working on building those crossovers. So if you recall from that 494 project to the south of the Fish Lake split, how you kind of moved from one side to the other. So in the morning there were more lanes coming in and less lanes going out. Kind of that similar type of design going on where they'll be shifting traffic based on where work is occurring, and then some time of day type things as well. There will be some restrictions to access through Maple Grove along Weaver, Maple Grove Parkway. There will be some periods of time where those exits will be closed. We know that'll be impactful to our local streets, so we're kind of looking at that and preparing for those types of impacts. And then as you're coming through Maple Grove, say you're coming, from further out and coming through Maple Grove, you're going to have to make decisions in advance about whether am I just going through and I'm headed, further in on 94 or 694, or am I going to be trying to get off in Maple Grove? And so there's going to be some interesting lane movements there that are going to be happening. But yeah, work will get started probably in earnest, later in the spring. We got to wait for the frost to come out, and we got load limits going on this Friday, and so we're getting close here, and if this weather hangs in there, it could be closer than we think. But I think they'll take advantage of as much of the spring as they can. But information available on our website. The MnDOT website has a tremendous amount of information that they'll be pushing out. So you can sign up for alerts, those kinds of things on these projects.
Very good. It sounds like then May might be the time that the cones really pop, and you might have some of those traffic changes, so be aware of that. A couple updates you gave looking at the legislature. They are in session and talking about a variety of things, and maybe a few things that cities are putting their radar up about. What might this be? Yeah,
so session is in full swing over the next couple weeks. A lot of meetings happening down at the legislature, a lot of organizations going down, kind of having their day at the Capitol. So a lot of meetings with the legislators on the various issues. But we've been kind of following along. The Builders Association of the Twin Cities has been doing a lot of work on, building permit fees, process, kind of those requirements of new home construction kind of a thing. And so they've made some headway with the legislature, and a number of bills have been introduced in the last couple weeks on the Senate side that would really, kind of change the way the city does business for construction. We don't think it's always for the best. We see a role for the city in making sure that, quality homes are built, and there's a cost to the city of doing that work, and we feel that the developer, the builder, should be bearing that cost, not our existing residents, that kind of a thing. So it's no different than the discussion around how do you build the roads, not only the roads within the development, but the capacity that needs to be built. Again, we think that those costs should be borne by that development versus our existing residents. So there's just some inherent costs with doing that work. So we're going to be engaging on those issues on behalf of the City of Maple Grove, but also in conjunction with the League of Minnesota Cities. The Municipal Legislative Commission are all weighing in on these issues, and so making sure they understand kind of what the implications of some of these proposals are.
Very good.
Yep.
All right, we'll keep you updated on that. Any update on the 2 big projects for the city of Maple Grove, looking at the gun range and to see what's happening with 610? Anything there yet?
Well, both of those projects are sitting in the House bonding bill, and of course the governor had a bonding bill, and we're still kind of waiting to see what the Senate is going to do. Senate
Right.
is really key in this. So we have meetings coming up soon with Senator Limmer, and we'll be talking with him about that and what he sees as the process coming forward for that Senate side bonding bill. I think, the bill will end up being less than what the House has proposed, and maybe, less than what the governor's proposed, and
Right.
we'll see how things shake out. But I think a lot of those decisions around bonding, of course, come down to the last few weeks
Right.
and maybe days and hours of the session, but we continue to engage on those issues and keep them on their radar.
Very good.
Yep.
One other item that Heidi passed along at the meeting on the 2nd was about a meeting that's coming up in April, and this is
Yes.
talking about the community center. Again,
Yeah.
give us a little refresher. Why is this a topic that you're spending a little extra time with a couple bodies coming together?
Yeah, so we embarked on this community center master planning process last fall and have been working through that over the summer months. We are kind of at the point of coming up with some options that we would, we did some community engagement on the front end, and now we've come up with some options that we would, take back out and get some feedback on. So we're planning for a work session with the City Council on April 20th to have some discussion about what those options look like, and then kind of pairing with that, of course, what's the financial plan, or what's the
Right.
financing plan for a project, and what would that look like. So April 20th is the date for that, and that would be joint between the City Council and Park Board prior to the regular meeting, so probably around a 5:30-ish start that evening.
Okay,
Yep.
good. All right, so that's a wrap from the meeting from the 2nd. Again, went through in about 1 hour period of time. You heard some of the things that are coming up at future meetings, which will be the 16th. We'll give you more information on that in just a minute. Let's head to some other things happening around the city, and we're fresh off the
Yeah.
presidential nomination primary election. We don't have numbers yet,
No, I
but
don't.
just in general, a recap and
Yeah.
maybe some thank yous as well.
Yeah, so I think things went relatively well yesterday. There were some problems at the state level with the Secretary of State's website crashing a few
Oh,
times.
boy.
So that brought some challenge, because that's kind of the poll finder place that people can go and
Right.
check where they vote, that kind of a thing. And so I think the state had a few more hiccups than they wanted yesterday. But here in Maple Grove, I think things went really well. And that's a credit to our staff, our election staff who run that election. The election judges that help serve that day and leading up to the election. We could not do this without those folks that come to help us out. And then, of course, the facilities that we use, some of them being park facilities, but a lot of them are in churches and the
Yeah.
schools. And we really appreciate kind of this collaborative effort that is required to make an election happen. So things went really well yesterday in Maple Grove. We'll probably know, turnout. I suspect it's probably, I don't know what the numbers look like, but I think it was generally pretty low across the state. So we are now, going to transition from this presidential nominating primary on to, we have the August 11th primary election and then November 3rd general election. Of course, we'll have absentee voting 46 days prior to those elections. So we'll get back into that. We are making some shifts. If you came in to absentee vote this year, we kind of had you wind through the administration area. We had set up kind of a absentee voting area. In the meantime, we've been remodeling kind of an old storage room that we are going to make into kind of an elections office that will be accessible off that second floor corridor up
Very
there.
good. Okay.
And so that kind of will be a nice dedicated space, and we won't have to kind of move people around and redo cubicles for a period of time every time we have an election. So
Sounds good.
we're looking forward to putting that into play for the primary in August.
Very good. Thanks again to all those who helped out with the process. State of the City event. This just happened last week up at the community center. Give us a little recap of who was in attendance and what was discussed.
Yeah, we had about 200, attendees, which was a great turnout and a very broad range of attendees. We had residents, we had, people from big corporate business in town, small business in town, chamber members, Rotary members. It was really kind of a great collection of folks. We had representatives from the school district, school board members, as well as school administration. Judy Johnson from the Met Council was with us that morning, staff from Hennepin County. So it was It was really a good morning, and we appreciate you helping us out with emceeing
My
and hosting
pleasure.
the event. So it was a great discussion. We did a little bit different format. The mayor and you kind of sat down and had a conversation about what's going on in the city and what we're looking forward to in the years to come. We're going to have that video of that discussion of the whole event available here in the next, I think, coming days here, and that'll get out on both CCX media as well as our social media at the city. We also had Twin West come in and talk about their Elevate Futures program. So this was kind of year 2, and now the program's really kind of getting up and running, and so it was a good opportunity to kind of share that story of where that program has come in the last year, and now you know, hopefully the flywheel's turning and things will just start to continue to move forward with that program. So again, great event. We appreciate people coming out. We appreciate the interest of the community. A lot of great feedback from the event, so we'll look forward to doing it again next year.
Happens usually each spring. Let's talk about the census. Really, things ramping up for the census process now. What has been some of the work ahead of time here? And I understand there's a committee as well in Maple Grove if people are interested in getting involved.
Yeah, we do have a complete count committee. We had kind of worked with our CAC, our Citizens Advisory Committee, on establishing that complete count committee, and that's kind of coordinated a little bit through Hennepin County. They're kind of the lead on some of these census initiatives, but you know, all residents, each home will receive an invitation to respond to a short questionnaire online or by phone, by mail, and we really do encourage our residents to participate in that. The census is really important for a number of reasons. It determines the distribution of federal grants, funds, support to the state, counties, and communities, and then one of the big issues is kind of redistricting happens on census. So it's really important that people respond to that census information and provide, you know, respond to those surveys. So if you have questions about that, you certainly can give a call up to City Hall and we can help you out. But also if you're interested in getting involved with that complete count committee, that's an important way to serve as well.
Okay, very good. Let's talk about other things happening for spring. One is the newsletter is about to come out. What do people find inside the newsletter this time?
Yeah, so we've got all the, you know, leading into summer, spring and summer here, kind of a forecast of all the events that are going to be coming up, and that is going to be in everybody's mailboxes in the next few months, and then of course that's available online and on our website as well.
All right, there might be some jobs coming up for the spring and summer time within the city. Tell us about some openings and some opportunities for folks in the city.
So we have community center maintenance technician position open until Friday, March 13th at 4:30 p.m. I think this is a full-time regular position, so a little bit different than some of the hiring that we do at the community center.
Right.
So that would be of interest to folks that are looking for that type of an opportunity. And then, of course, we have all of our seasonal positions in Public Works and Park and Recreation that we're recruiting for right now. So if you have an interest in those, take a look at our website.
And age group for those? Are teenagers allowed to be involved in some of those, especially at the community center and some of those positions?
For sure, some of those positions, as we get into the more operating equipment, things like that in the field, some of those the age requirements go up. But yes, some of those jobs are open to the younger set of teenagers.
All right, teens get thinking about that, and parents get thinking about that as well. Speaking about some of the fun things that happen during the summer, let's look at Town Green. The schedule is being set for the regular concerts, but here's a neat opportunity for some musical talented people to maybe get involved in another way. How does this work?
Yeah, so July 17th through 25th, we host the Friday night movies there at Town Green, so kind of right after it starts around Maple Grove Days time and then leads into the fall. So we're looking for musicians and bands to perform on stage prior to that movie. So it's an unpaid, performance, but it's an opportunity for local bands and musicians to get some exposure, some practice performing in front of a crowd kind of a thing. Yeah, it might be discovered. So if you're interested in that, you can contact Tanya in our Parks and Recreation Department for those opportunities.
Fun opportunity, and I bet in that spring newsletter probably information about some of the Town Green happenings over the spring and summer. Let's talk farmers market. You'll probably find that in the newsletter as well. We're in the indoor season, getting close to outdoor season. What can we find and what are some dates to remember?
So we'll have indoor markets from 3 to 6, and that's inside the Maple Grove Community Center, kind of in that big open meeting space by the Maple Maze, and that's Thursday, March 19th, and then we'll have April 2 and April 16th, and then our first outdoor market is already Thursday, May 14th. So we're hoping for a nice, lovely spring, but all the things that you can expect over the next 3 markets that are inside. We have greenhouse grown produce, including lettuce, microgreens, farm fresh eggs, that kind of a thing. Locally raised meats, honey, maple syrup, breads, pickles, preserves, all those kinds of lovely things. And
Sounds good.
we're getting close to Easter, so it's a good opportunity to stock up on those things
Yep,
before
getting
the holiday.
hungry already, so
Yep.
make sure you stop by the market. A couple more things happening at the community center that you might not think about. One is the Playhouse Preschool.
Yes.
People might not know about this kind of undiscovered gem in the city. What is it, and what are they having as far
Yeah.
as a special event?
Yeah, so the Playhouse Preschool Open House, it's going to be on Saturday, March 14th from 10 to 11 a.m. And then information will be there available there about the preschool program. And the teachers, Gail and Sue, will be there to talk with families and kids about that opportunity. It's open for kids children from ages 3 to 5, this preschool. And I think it's worth noting Gail and Sue have been part of this program for many years collectively between the two of them. They have over 60 years of service with the preschool program. And so very long serving and very well, I think the program's really well respected in the community and a great asset. And so if you're looking for a program for your 3 to 5-year-old, Saturday, March 14th at the community center.
All right, it is a gem. Empty Bowls coming up at the community center as well. Tell us the date for that and give us a little background. What does Empty Bowls mean?
Yeah, so this is Thursday, March 12th from 4 to 7 p.m. at the community center. So this is kind of a fundraiser for Cross, and the school district partners in and they actually make these clay bowls, and so it's kind of an art paired event. And then there's a food service or a dinner service that's paired with some of the local restaurants, and then all the money that's raised goes to benefit Cross. So it's just kind of demonstrating that there might be empty bowls out there, and what can we as a community do to try to fill them. And so it's a great event for Cross and for the school district to get involved as well.
And Cross Services, again,
Yes.
serves all of Maple Grove as far as a food shelf and some other financial needs that might be out there for residents.
It does. It's our food shelf. Of course, it's located in Rogers, but Maple Grove is part of their service area. And then there's other social services that you can tap into there from employment, anything with Hennepin County or the state. They can help you get connected with those services up there at Cross as well.
Good. They've got a great website and Facebook page as well, so you can find out things going on at Cross. Heidi, thank you very much for the information.
welcome.
That's a wrap of what's coming up here in the city of Maple Grove. Let's look at that next council meeting. We mentioned it. It's going to be March 16th at the Government Center, 7:30. 494-6000 is the number to call, and we mentioned the website a number of times. You see it right there in the middle of the screen. If your response line 533-1710, questions or comments about the program, we would love to hear them. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.